Here's an expanded version of Part 1 with more engaging details. The classroom buzzed with quiet anticipation. Jaewon Park adjusted his glasses, his fingers drumming nervously against the lecture podium. Another exchange student semester. Another batch of aliens trying to understand human biology. He'd seen it all, or so he thought. When Hyejin Kim walked in, the room went completely silent. She wasn't just another alien student. She was something entirely different. Her skin rippled with a soft blue iridescence that seemed to change colors with every movement, like sunlight dancing on water. 4 slender arms moved with impossible grace, each one carefully balancing a stack of holographic tablets and research. Journals? Late arrival, Jaewon muttered under his breath, expecting the typical awkward alien entrance, but Hyejin moved with a confidence that caught everyone off guard. Her eyes, not human eyes, but a complex network of crystalline sensor points, scanned the room with an intensity that made even the most seasoned students feel like they were being X-rayed. "Apologies for my delayed entry," she spoke, her voice running through a small translator device. It sounded almost musical, with just a hint of mechanical precision. Public transportation systems on campus are remarkably inefficient compared to my home planet's quantum transit networks. A few students chuckled. Jaewon raised an eyebrow. Most exchange students would be nervous trying to blend in, but Hyejin stood out deliberately, her posture screaming confidence. Her academic uniform looked like it had been tailored by a precision engineer. Not a single wrinkle, not a single misaligned seam. Each of her 4 arms moved independently, one adjusting her translator, another sliding a data pad into perfect alignment, the third casually brushing back a strand of something that might have been hair, but looked more like fine metallic threads. Jaewon had seen hundreds of alien students, but something about Hyejin was different. She wasn't just here to learn. She was here to challenge everything they thought they knew about biology, about learning, about understanding. When she smiled, it wasn't a human smile. It was more like a complex mathematical equation solving, itself in real time, precise, calculated, yet somehow warmly intelligent. Her eyes, those incredible multifaceted sensory organs, locked directly with Jaewon's, and in that moment, he knew this semester was going to be anything but ordinary. The other students shifted uncomfortably. Some looked intimidated, others curious. But Hyejin remained perfectly composed, waiting for the lecture to begin, her 4 arms positioned with military-like precision. Jaewon cleared his throat. "Welcome to advanced xenobiology," he said, hoping his voice sounded more confident than he felt. "I hope you're ready for a challenging semester." Hyejin's smile, that strange equation-like expression, suggested she was more than ready. In fact, she looked like she was about to turn their entire understanding of biology upside down. And Jaewon had no idea just how right he was. "Would you like me to continue with the same engaging style for the next parts? The goal is to keep it human-centric, simple, natural, and engaging without any complex scientific jargon or potentially problematic content." The lecture hall felt thick with tension. Jaewon had been explaining his latest research on cellular adaptation across different planetary environments, believing he was presenting groundbreaking work. His slides displayed complex diagrams of biological mutation patterns, each image meticulously prepared to showcase human scientific understanding. Midway through his presentation, a soft, humming sound interrupted his flow. Hyejin's hand was raised, her 4 arms moving with synchronized precision. Her translator device glowed softly, casting a subtle blue light across her face. "Professor," she began, her voice calm and measured, "I believe there's a fundamental misunderstanding in your research methodology. Most students would have been terrified to challenge a senior researcher, but Hyejin wasn't most students. Her crystalline eyes, those incredible sensory organs, seemed to be processing information faster than anyone could comprehend. Jaewon felt a mix of irritation and curiosity. He had spent years developing this research, and here was an exchange, students suggesting he might be wrong. Part of him wanted to dismiss her immediately. Another part was strangely excited by the challenge. "Please elaborate," he said, trying to keep his tone neutral. Jin stood up, her movement fluid and calculated. She didn't just speak, she performed a scientific dissection of his entire hypothesis. Each point was backed by intricate data, cross-referenced with research from multiple planetary systems. Her arguments weren't aggressive, they were surgical. The other students watched in stunned silence. Some looked confused, others impressed. A few international students leaned forward, their notebooks forgotten, completely captivated by the intellectual showdown happening before them. Jaewon realized something remarkable was happening. This wasn't just a student challenging a professor. This was a genuine exchange of scientific knowledge, raw and unfiltered. Jin wasn't trying to embarrass him. She was trying to expand understanding. Her forearms moved like a complex dance while she explained, each gesture accompanying a specific point in her argument. She pulled up holographic data streams, comparing cellular mutation rates across different gravitational environments. Her research suggested entire new pathways of biological understanding that Jaewon had never considered. The mutation isn't random, she explained, her translator converting her native language into perfect, articulate English. It's a responsive system, adapting not just to environmental conditions, but to potential future scenarios. The classroom felt electric. Even the most bored students were now paying complete attention, their previous disinterest replaced by genuine fascination. Jaewon felt something he hadn't experienced in years, genuine scientific excitement. This wasn't about being right or wrong. This was about pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. Impressive analysis, he finally said, a small smile breaking through his professional demeanor. Would you be interested in discussing this further after class? Hyejin's response wasn't a simple yes or no. It was another complex, equation-like smile that suggested this was just the beginning of something much bigger. The bell rang, signaling the end of the lecture, but nobody moved. They were all still processing what had just happened. A moment where an alien exchange student had potentially reshaped their entire understanding of biological science. And Jaewon knew, without a doubt, that this semester was going to be anything but ordinary. Would you like me to continue with the same approach for the next parts? The goal is to maintain a human-centric, engaging narrative that feels natural and avoids any potentially problematic content. The University Research Center buzzed with anticipation. Rumors had been spreading about Hyejin's final project for weeks, and today was the day she would present her findings to a panel of skeptical human researchers. Jaewon watched from the back of the room, a mix of pride and nervousness churning in his stomach. He knew something special was coming, but nothing could have prepared him for what was about to unfold. Hyejin stepped forward, her forearms carrying a complex array of holographic displays and biological models. Unlike previous presentations, this wasn't just another academic exercise. This was something different, something that could change everything humans understood about medical science. Her presentation began simply enough. She talked about cellular adaptation, a topic that typically made most researchers' eyes glaze over. But within minutes, the entire room was completely silent, hanging on her every word. The breakthrough was astonishing. Hyejin had discovered a method of biological reprogramming that could potentially heal genetic disorders across multiple species. It wasn't just about human medicine anymore. This was interstellar medical technology that could save millions of lives across different planetary systems. Her research combined elements that no one had ever thought to connect before. Genetic, mapping, quantum cellular response, and adaptive biological systems merged into a single, elegant solution. Each slide she presented looked less like a scientific document and more like a work of art, complex, beautiful, and mind-bendingly intricate. The human body, Hyejin explained, her translator converting her words with perfect clarity, is not just a collection of cells. It's a dynamic system capable of far more adaptation than we currently understand. Researchers who had spent decades in their fields began to shift uncomfortably. Some looked excited, others looked threatened, but nobody could deny the brilliance of what they were seeing. Jaewon felt a surge of emotion he couldn't quite explain. This wasn't just his student presenting research. This was a moment that could potentially change medical science forever. He watched as Hyejin effortlessly explained complex concepts, her forearms moving in a choreographed dance of scientific explanation. The most remarkable part wasn't just the research itself, it was how Hyejin presented it, with a combination of passion, precision, and something that felt almost like hope. She wasn't just presenting data, she was telling a story about the potential of life, about healing, about understanding. One of the senior researchers, a tough-looking woman who had seen countless presentations, leaned forward. "How did you even conceive of this approach?" she asked, a mixture of challenge and genuine curiosity in her voice. Hyejin's response was simple yet profound. "By listening," she said, "not just to scientific data, but to the stories of those who need healing. Science isn't just about numbers, it's about understanding." The room fell silent again. Those words seemed to hang in the air, more powerful than any scientific graph or complex theory. When the presentation ended, there was a moment of complete stillness. Then, something unexpected happened. The researchers began to applaud. Not a polite professional clap, but a genuine, passionate response that seemed to say they had just witnessed something truly extraordinary. Jaewon watched his student, no, not just a student anymore, with a sense of wonder. Hyejin had done more than complete a research project. She had opened a window to an entirely new way of thinking about life, healing, and scientific understanding. As the panel began their questions, one thing became clear. Nothing would be the same after today. Would you like me to continue with the same engaging and human-centric approach for the next parts? The narrative aims to keep the story interesting, natural, and accessible, while highlighting the potential of cross-cultural scientific collaboration. The late afternoon sunlight filtered through the university's research wing, casting long shadows. Across the empty hallway, Jaewon found Hyejin organizing her research materials, her forearms moving with a precision that seemed almost musical. "We need to talk," he said, a mix of curiosity and confusion in his voice. Hyejin turned, her crystalline eyes reflecting the light in a way that made her look both alien and strangely familiar. She understood immediately what he meant. Their previous interactions had been more than just typical student-teacher exchanges. Over the next hour, something remarkable happened. Hyejin began to explain the deeper cultural context of her approach to learning and scientific discovery. It wasn't just about research. It was about a fundamental way of understanding the universe. "In my culture," she explained, her translator humming softly, "challenging an idea is the deepest form of respect. When we argue, we're not fighting, we're dancing." Jaewon listened, fascinated. She described a world where intellectual exchange was treated like a sacred ritual. Each argument was a carefully choreographed interaction, designed not to defeat, but to elevate understanding. It was so different from the competitive academic environment he knew. Her people didn't see knowledge as something to be conquered or owned. They saw it as a living, breathing entity that grew through respectful challenge and mutual exploration. Each scientific debate was like a complex conversation between different parts of a larger understanding. "When I challenged your research," Hyejin continued, "I wasn't trying to prove you wrong. I was inviting you to see something new. It's like in extending a hand of friendship through ideas." Jaewon realized something profound was happening. This wasn't just about scientific methodology. This was about understanding fundamentally different ways of thinking, of learning, of respecting knowledge. He thought about his years of academic training, the competitions, the ego battles, the constant pressure to be the smartest person in B. The room. Hyejin's approach was completely different. For her, knowledge wasn't a weapon, it was a bridge. "Your research could change everything," Jaewon said softly. "But it's more than just the data. It's the way you think about discovery." Hyejin's multifaceted eyes seemed to sparkle. "Exactly," she responded. "Science isn't just about finding answers. It's about asking better questions." As the sun began to set, casting a warm orange glow through the windows, they continued talking. Two researchers from different worlds, finding common ground in their love of understanding. Jaewon realized that Hyejin had given him something far more valuable than a groundbreaking research project. She had shown him an entirely new way of seeing the world, of seeing knowledge itself. Their conversation wasn't an ending. It was a beginning of something much larger than either of them could imagine. The research wing grew dark, but the energy of their discussion seemed to fill the entire space, a testament to the power of genuine, respectful intellectual exchange. Would you like me to continue with the same approach for the final part? The narrative aims to maintain a human-centric, engaging and thoughtful tone that explores cross-cultural understanding. The final presentation day arrived with an electricity that seemed to pulse through the entire university campus. Students, researchers, and faculty packed the main auditorium, whispers spreading about the mysterious exchange student who had been turning the scientific world upside down. Jaewon sat in the front row, his hands clasped tightly together. This wasn't just another student defense. This was something special. Hee-jin stepped onto the stage, her four arms carrying a combination of holographic displays and traditional research materials. Her movement was fluid, confident, a perfect blend of alien grace and academic precision. The entire room fell silent. Her presentation was nothing short of magical. She didn't just present research, she told a story. A story about how different species could understand each other, how knowledge could bridge impossible gaps, how science was more than just numbers and data. The research she unveiled was revolutionary. It wasn't just about xenobiology anymore. It was about communication, understanding, and the potential of collaborative intelligence. Each slide revealed layers of complexity that made previous research look like children's drawings. But something more important was happening in that room. It wasn't just about the scientific breakthrough. It was about the way Hee-jin presented her work, with humility, passion, and a genuine desire to expand human understanding. When she finished, there was a moment of complete silence. Then something unexpected happened. The senior researchers began to applaud. Not a polite professional clap, but a genuine, passionate response. They weren't just acknowledging her research. They were recognizing her as a fellow scientist, a fellow explorer of knowledge. Jaewon felt a surge of emotion he couldn't quite explain. This student, this incredible alien who had challenged everything he thought he knew, had done something remarkable. She had transformed their understanding of science, of learning, of communication. The evaluation committee's decision was unanimous, not just an A+, but a recommendation for publication in the most prestigious scientific journals. More than that, they wanted her to continue her research at the university. During the post-presentation discussion, Hee-jin fielded questions with a grace that belied her years. Each response was thoughtful, nuanced, showing a depth of understanding that went far beyond her academic credentials. "This isn't about being an alien student," she said when asked about her unique perspective. "This is about being a scientist, about being curious, about wanting to understand." Jaewon watched, a sense of pride washing over him. He had started the semester seeing her as just another exchange student. Now he saw her as a colleague, a friend, a fellow explorer of the unknown. As the event concluded, students surrounded, Hee-jin asking questions, seeking insights. But she remained calm, her four arms moving gracefully, explaining complex concepts with a simplicity that made them accessible to everyone. Something profound had happened. Boundaries had been crossed. Not just planetary boundaries, but boundaries of understanding, of communication, of what it meant to be a scientist. When Jaewon finally approached her, no words were needed. A simple nod passed between them, a recognition of mutual respect, of shared passion for discovery. The day wasn't just about a successful presentation. It was about proving that true intelligence knows no limits, no species, no planetary boundaries, no traditional constraints. It was about hope, about possibility, about the incredible potential that happens when we truly listen to each other. Would you like me to refine any aspect of the final part? The goal remains to keep the narrative engaging, human-centric and inspiring, highlighting the power of cross-cultural scientific collaboration, and scientific collaboration.